Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, and today's video is on yet another subject that I don't know anything about. And when I got started thinking about this, I started to look up a few facts, and I realized, hey, maybe you should have finished high school chemistry. Too late now. And I got thinking, well, here, you don't know anything about what you're talking about. And I thought, well, hey, when did I? All my other videos I did, I didn't know what I was doing then either, so why? And I never let that stop me, so we're not going to let that stop me now, right? So all the other creators, or most of them, have had their turn at the chemistry set. You know, mostly they've been cutting rust off of things, which is a useful thing to do, but this is not as useful. It's just that I've noticed lots of times on the internet and such that you get these homemade concoctions that are supposed to do something wonderful. You know, they'll clean something or kill all the fleas off your dog or make you wiser or, you know, who knows what. And a lot of times they put together things that are opposites, chemically opposite, and that makes you think, well, how could that do something? Because you just neutralized both chemicals. And so I saw a video where there was vinegar and salt mixed together, and I thought, aha, they just neutralized the vinegar with the salt. Well, I went online to look up the pH of salt, pH being the measurement for whether something's acid or basic, and salt doesn't have any pH. Who knew? So the salt didn't neutralize the vinegar. So then I wondered, well, what the heck does it do? Now I'm going to explain this remark about pH for those other folks who, like me, haven't finished high school chemistry. All right. pH is a scale used to specify how acidic or basic a water-based solution is. All right. Acidic solutions have a lower pH, while basic solutions have a higher pH. At room temperature, pure water is not basic or acid. It's just a neutral pH of 7. All right. And the pH scale is logarithmic and inversely indicates the concentration of hydrogen ions in the solution. A lower pH indicates a higher concentration of hydrogen ions. And I'm not going to go into the formula for it because I don't understand it. But anyway, what we got for measuring pH is a scale of 0 to 14. All right. At 0, that's battery acid or hydrochloric acid, and lemon juice is up at a pH of 2. Okay, grapefruit juice is a pH of 2.5 to 3.5. Black coffee has a pH of 5. Yeah, I knew it was good stuff. Milk, urine, and saliva is, if you're into that, has pH of 6.3 to 6.6. Blood is neutral with a pH of about 7.4, and of course we know water is neutral at 0 pH. Now we get on to toward the basic side. We had the acid stuff there. Seawater's got a pH of 8. I don't know how it got it, because supposedly salt doesn't have a pH. Baking soda's got a pH of 9.5. All right. Ammonia solution, pH of 10.5. Bleaches, you know, oven cleaner, lye, stuff like that's pH of 13.5, and liquid drain cleaner has a pH of 14. So battery acid on the 0 end of the scale is pretty bad stuff. It'll eat you up. And liquid drain cleaner on the 14 end of the scale is pretty bad stuff because it'll eat you up too, but it's like the north and south poles of a magnet. It's the opposite of acid. So to do this, I thought, well, I need some pH paper because rednecks don't have any sophisticated little deals with the, you know, with electrodes to drop in water solution or anything. But we could get pH paper. Guys like me used to call it litmus paper. I don't know if they do or not. But anyway, I thought, well, I better get some. And I went online there on Amazon, and they give you 2 rolls for $5 and something. Or you can get 4 rolls for $7.50. So I learned something about the psychology of old rednecks. I bought the 4-roll package. And then after I did so, I got to thinking, well, heck, I don't even need a whole roll, much less 4. But there you are. it was, you know, good deal for those other 2 rolls, half price. I can't explain that. All right, so let's mix up some stuff here, make some things fizz and whatever. And here's something I almost forgot to mention to you guys. I just got this sticker yesterday. It's from the Swan Valley Machine Shop. This is down in Perth, Australia. It's one of those places I'd like to go, you know, sort of on the bucket list. Don't figure I'll ever make it, but it'd be a good trip. He's got a YouTube channel. Of course, it's called the Swan Valley Machine Shop. You guys might want to go over there and take a look at it. Okay? Alright, in this glass we've got plain old vinegar, household vinegar. And I forget where it is on the pH scale, but it's pretty acidy. And here we got baking soda. Everybody's seen that. So we'll mix a little water in the baking soda so that it gets to be a liquid. And I put probably too much of it in there. And so when we get through with that, we're going to have a highly acid solution and a relatively basic solution. Okay? Now let me get the pH paper and we'll start to look at it. Alright, so I took this roll of pH paper, which has got a handy little scale on it so you can see what the pH of something is. And we'll dip it into the vinegar. Bring him out of there, and you can see he's had a color change, huh? Yes, he has. And let's dip this into the baking soda. And he's had a color change. Let's kind of zoom in on the little buggers. Alright, so taking this little roll here, red being down there about the pH 0, we can see the vinegar is pretty heavy on the acid side. And the baking soda, he's probably pretty heavy on the basic side. You can see the color of him compared to the wheel. Alright, so what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to pour these 2 together. I just had a thought. It didn't hurt me, but it did make me kind of dizzy. But anyway, I figured that before I go to pouring these 2 together, I should put a little something under it, just in case something happens. Who knows? So we'll pour a little acid into a little bit of basic stuff and see what happens. Whoa! Well, I guess that was pretty dramatic. Okay, well, now we know what happens. You can't have a chemistry experiment without mixing something together that reacts with something else, right? Alright, now then let's get on with the rest of it. Alright, so I cleaned up the mess and restored these 2 glasses to their original contents. We got here vinegar, baking soda solution, which still has a lot more stuff in there than wants to dissolve. Ketchup, yeah, ketchup. You can say, well, what the heck? Well, ketchup's got vinegar in it. In fact, one time, some years back, I had some 22 long rifle cartridges laying around that were about 40 years old. And you can imagine how they looked. And I was throwing for them, and the guy said, yeah, well, just clean them off with ketchup if that's all you got. And I thought, well, I'm going to call him on that. And so I got them and I dumped them in the ketchup and let them sit there a couple of hours and come back and wiped them, and they were all shiny brass on account of there's vinegar in the ketchup. And then to go along with acid basic, here is some of that iRobot cleaning solution. Yeah, we've been through 2 or 3 iRobots, and I wasn't real impressed by them. They looked to me like a waste of money. But anyway, I'm going to put stuff in there. Now, hang loose. Now, I know somebody's going to say, well, what about the salt and the vinegar? You were talking about that. Well, I didn't bring enough of these glasses to put salt and vinegar, so I got my favorite coffee cup, or one of my favorite coffee cups, and washed some of the crust out of it. And we're going to put salt in it. As you can see, I'm just going to pour a bunch of salt in there. Seemed like the guy was supposed to use 3 or 4 teaspoons of salt. So there's salt, which is common ordinary table salt. I put that on the fruit I eat up here. And we're going to put vinegar in it. Because the guy that I was watching had it mixed with vinegar. So we'll pour the vinegar into the salt. Nothing happened. It didn't react because salt's not basic like I thought it was. But there you go. Okay? And I'll move the camera over. You can look down in there and see. Most of the salt dissolved and it's not doing anything. It's just sitting there in the vinegar. Alright, so I have pennies and we're going to put pennies into these things to see them get cleaned up. And we got some Evil 45 caliber brass. I'm going to throw one of those in each one of those things too. Now I just looked and realized I didn't get enough brass or pennies, so y'all hang on and I'll be right back. Alright, now I've got enough brass and enough pennies. We're going to drop 3 pennies. These pennies, if you can see them back here in the back row, they're all pretty well identical. They're all dirty from being handled and laying around and stuff. And the 45 ACP brass is all just like I picked it up off the ground at the range. It's still not very shiny. Alright, so we're going to drop 1 into the vinegar, 3 pennies into the vinegar, 1 into the baking soda, 3 pennies into the baking soda. I'll have to stir that a little bit. 3 pennies into the ketchup, and 1 piece of brass. And I'm going to have to stir that too because it didn't sink in like the other stuff. Alright, and by golly, I'm still 3 pennies and a piece of brass short. So we'll put pennies in there and I'll get more pennies and more brass. Hold on. Alright, in all fairness to me, I'm a redneck and I got my shoes on, so I didn't count it just right, you know. But anyway, here goes brass into the vinegar with salt. 1, 2, 3 pennies into the vinegar with salt. And it's all nicely situated in a solution. So now I get to do something fun. I'll go watch some of the better YouTube creators' channels and entertain myself for a couple of hours and maybe have lunch and stuff like that. Then we'll come back and see if this did anything, or if it did something, what did it do. Now this little experiment's only been going on about 10 minutes and I can already see the pennies that I put in the salt and vinegar solution have changed color already, whereas the pennies in the straight vinegar solution haven't yet really. One of them changed color, but the others are sitting there. I don't know what the brass is doing. It's standing up instead of laying over. Now let's roll it over here, see what he looks like. So the brass, the old ACP 45 brass may take a little bit longer, but this is just like 10 minutes into the game here. That's too dark to see what's going on down in there. Alright, so it's been 2 hours. I've moved down the hall so that I can rinse them off here in the sink, and better close the sink drain or all my pennies will go down it. And I'm going to rinse them off and lay them here. Now I know the 2 that I'm primarily the most interested in are the pure vinegar and the vinegar with salt. So let me dig those out first. Alright, those are the guys that were in the pure vinegar. Let's move in on them just a little bit. They've changed, but not real significantly. Alright, so let's grab the guys out of the salt and the vinegar and rinse them off. Harder to reach the bottom here. obviously can't count. I had 4 pennies in that one. All right, let me move this down. Well, we know these are both vinegar. Now then, we'll get out the guys out of the baking soda. The baking soda doesn't seem to have helped it a whole lot. Now it's time for the ketchup. Now that's going to be a little messier. It's down in there, but yuck. All right, I got it pouring over the edge there. Just hang on a second. Ketchup. Ketchup did a pretty darn good job, didn't it? Look at that. All right, so all that's left is the iRobot goodie, the soap for your iRobot. And it's a product of some big bleach company. All right. Admittedly, the germs are going off the brass, but I don't know if the pennies are any cleaner. So now then, get my hands dried off here, and we'll sort of zoom in on each one of these in turn and examine them. Okay? All right, this is the straight vinegar pile here. This penny didn't do very good at all. These guys got some cleaning action on them. And this guy, depending on which side you roll him over to, one side was down and one side was up. He came out with one side cleaner. Alright? So let's move sideways just a little. This was in the salt and vinegar mixture. This guy's looking pretty nice all the way around, if you ask me. And these pennies, well, they're obviously a lot cleaner. They're sort of vary from side to side, depending on which side was down. But I'd say these pennies are cleaner than these are the ones that were in the salt and vinegar. Alright, let's move next door to the baking soda. These guys were in the baking soda, and like in the vinegar, the side that was down is a little different cleanliness than the side that was up. But the pennies are, yeah, I can't tell they're changed at all. Alright, let's go to the ketchup. Good old ketchup. Goes with the fries. Makes everybody happy. Look at that. Those pennies look to me like they're just as clean as the salt and vinegar. And this brass looks to be just as shiny as the salt and vinegar. And the last but not least, here's the stuff that was in the iRobot cleaning solution. And the brass come out looking reasonably good, I guess. But the pennies are, one of them got a little cleaned up, but the rest of them are still a bit messy. So let's move the two winners all into one spot here. Hang on. All right, there they are, side by side, the salt and vinegar and the ketchup. And I could be biased in saying so, but I think the ketchup got them cleaner than the salt and vinegar. Just my opinion. That's you guys that tell me in the comments which one you think's the cleanest. Salt and vinegar or tomato ketchup. Salt and vinegar, tomato ketchup. They're the two cleanest bunches. Okay? I guess that wraps this up before I show any more ignorance. Well, back down at home there, Bubba has some property, you know, a little old farm, and pipeline company come across there, and they bought a right-of-way across his farm to lay a pipeline. And so Bubba, you know, came in a pretty good bit of money there, and he decided he'd do some stuff he had never done before, so he got on a plane and went to England. Got him a room in an expensive, fancy hotel, went down, ordered the best steak they had for dinner, and in fact, he ordered 2 of them, you know, and he started out and thought, no, he says, I can't eat them both. And he looks over and there's a gentleman sitting over at the table. He says, hey, fella, he says, I I got more dinner here than I can handle. Would you like to have one of these steaks? Guy says, no, thanks. He says, I tried it once and didn't like it. So Bubba sits down and finishes his dinner, you know, and he orders some of this wine, $200 a bottle of wine, sits down there, and he looks over, and the gentleman's still sitting at the other table. He says, say, fella, he says, I got some of this top quality wine here. He says, would you like a glass of it? The fellow says, no. He says, I don't think so, mate. He says, I tried it once and didn't like it. So Bubba drank his wine, you know, and he orders a couple of really fancy cigars, you know, $20 a piece jobs, and sat there, and he says, well, fella, he says, how about a nice cigar? The fellow says, no, mate. He says, I tried it once and I didn't like it. So Bubba says, what? He says, I don't mean to be nosy, but I'm just kind of curious, what are you doing here? And the guy says, what? He says, I'm waiting for my son. Bubba says, oh, he says, I reckon he's an only child, huh? Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.